Now I'm going to talk about the censorship of my TV show because several people have asked me today, is it coming back on television? Well, I'm not 100% sure. As you may know, I got removed from TV for about 9 months because of an item that I put on where I was challenging the official line of the Woolwich incident, where some guy allegedly had his head hacked off in the middle of the street. Now Ofcom produced this report as to why they said that my programme was offensive, and what I've done is I've taken all of their quotations from my show and I've clipped them all together. So this is why my show was taken off air.
One important factor is there is no photograph or video showing a decapitated corpse. We can see a body lying on the road, but it's not obvious whether there's even a head there or not.
Right, so you're supposed to believe that in that corner of the pavement with trees overhead, they tried to hack his head off. They suddenly got out of the meat killer, tried to hack his head off.
So this is off the road they've tried to do this?
Yeah, on the pavement.
All right.
Now that would have, about 8 pints of blood would have spurted out if they'd done that. They had blood all over themselves, which they didn't have, and the important thing is there's no blood on the pavement. You happen to have a meat cleaver, you get out, you hack his head off. Why would you want to do that? And you then drag him out into the middle of the road. It makes absolutely no sense. The only sense it makes is as a stage prop for public horror.
Right,
so
okay.
just ask yourself, if you had seen somebody hack someone's head off and he got blood all over his hands with a meat cleaver, would you stand there a few feet in front of him with a camera photographing him and talking to him? Would you do that?
Of course you wouldn't.
So that is an obviously staged event, and the dead giveaway here is the little old lady with a shopping trolley who walks past, totally unconcerned, as this apparent horror event is going on. And that tells you that red blood on the hand was photoshopped on. There was no red blood on the hands. And it's only on his hands, not anywhere else on his clothing, as would have happened if
right. You know. So they've done a very badly orchestrated false flag event in Boston. Now they've done one in Woolwich in the UK.
Can
I just put this to you that you've got the people who do see through these lies, okay, such as yourself, people who actually critically analyse, look at the evidence and see if there's any mileage in what the mainstream is saying, and then unpick it, and then we know it's all a fake event. Okay, it's easy to see.
Right, now I would have been quite happy to issue an apology if that is indeed offensive. This is one complaint that Ofcom got, and after I was taken off air, the TV company got 400 complaints from viewers. So where's the democracy there? But I would have been quite happy to issue an apology and continue on in the same vein with the same types of programmes I've been producing. But that has not been allowed to happen because the TV company are so scared now of producing anything which questions the government's narrative or anything against, let's say, police corruption and this kind of thing, that they only want programmes about UFOs from me. That's all they're prepared to air because they're worried about getting a £30,000 fine and getting their licence taken off them. So my hands are tied now. I can't put certain things out that challenge authority. And the other thing they've done is they've requested more money from me for the shows. So the last series of 13 shows that I put out, the TV company want £3,000 plus VAT from me. So I pay to produce the programmes, and then I have to pay them £3,000 plus VAT to get them to put them on. Right? I don't get paid to make these TV shows. So that's why I'm charging £12 instead of £10. Because I've agreed to give the TV company 30% of the proceeds from these talks. So I'm subsidising the TV show. Right? The other thing they've done is they've stuck me on at midnight, and a lot of people have been having problems recording the show as well. So, and this is ongoing. Yeah? So that one incident is still affecting my freedom of speech now, because I'm not allowed to say the sorts of things that I'm saying in this talk on television. All right? So I'm not sure which direction I want to take. Am I just going to broadcast on the internet, or am I just going to do just UFO stuff and stay on television? Now, I've mentioned subversive influences, and a lot of people say, well, what can you do? Because not everyone's going to go to Portugal and try and make a documentary that's going to undermine the government and what I'm doing. But there are things that you can do, and I've had a little think about this regarding subversive influences. Here's one of them. Throw your television set out of the window. All right, if you don't want to do that, the first point is that your armour or your guidance comes from within yourself. That sounds a little bit religious, but it's true. You're not going to get it from anyone else. You're not going to get it from any anything that you read, it comes from within yourself, right? Your armour against subversive influences. Try and know or learn which influences to shut off from. Write them down. I mean, I haven't even mentioned films and radio. Anyone listen to the Jeremy Vine show? That is just the most disgusting, fear-mongering. I put that on for 15 seconds before I've had enough of it. Jeremy Vine. So know or learn which influences to shut off from, and think carefully about what you put value on. So the Peppa Pig stuff that I showed you before, Peppa doesn't like nature, so they're trying to make people worship material things. They're trying to create consumerist materialism. If you don't have your health, you're not going to have any of it. Yeah. Don't spend long periods under subversive influences. I only watch the news for about 15 minutes every week. That's all you need in order to get up on the propaganda. Yeah? You don't need to sit in front of the TV for long periods of time. And give the influences labels which describe what they really are. Dancing on shite. I call Greg's dregs, and there are many others. Make them up. I call the news. I don't say, well, are we going to put the news on? I say, are we going to put the stress on? But it's not always as simple as that, is it? And it's not always the woman who's addicted to subversive influences. Sometimes it's the man, or it might be teenagers or grandparents, or whatever your situation is. You might be living in the same space as someone who can't get enough of all of this, and you just want to switch off from it. What the hell do you do? Because a lot of people contact me about that. And we saw the comment in the slide that she never has the soaps off. It's quite a tricky thing, but I've had to think about it. This comes from cognitive behavioural therapy, which can be used for the positive. It's not all mind control. So write a letter from the other person's perspective. So imagine that you are that other person, and explain to yourself why you need all of these subversive influences. That will then enable you to understand where they're coming from. Then put yourself in an imaginary trial. So there's a judge, a jury, and the other person. What would you say to that jury to convince them that all of the subversive influences are completely bad and ought to be taken away from your life? Right? And once you've done that, imagine that the other person who loves the subversive influences is drowning in a river. Now, if they were drowning in a river, would you point at them and say, stop drowning in that bloody river? Because they are drowning in a river of subversion. You wouldn't, would you? They need support. So no, it's not their fault. It's the subverters' fault. They're victims of subversion, people who are addicted to this stuff. No ticking off, right? They're victims. They need support. Talk to their heart before their head and show some compassion. Try and get them to propose a solution, an alternative to just being absorbed in these subversive influences, and then they're more likely to follow the solution. And recognise and give gratitude if they give suggestions. All right, well, if we can put the lights back on now, that's the end of part 1. We'll have a 20-minute break, and I'll see you in part 2 to talk about the Secret Space Programme. Thank you.